Okay, in the next step, we'll create classes for business objects. So we have a table for the cohort, for a table for student, and a table for staff. So in order to load the data from the database to Java, we need to have corresponding classes to store data for cohort, for staff, and for students. So we will have some special thing. Normally, if you have some fields in the database, like the cohort ID, cohort name, you just simply add them, and create the constructor, getter, setter. But for some of the special case, you may add some special methods like what we have over here. But for these special methods, I will add them when there is a need. Next specific thing is we already seen from several steps above that the staff has several information, but when we load the data to the database, we only need to know the staff ID and the staff name. We do not load username password because when the staff log in, they should provide username password, and it's not good to load them to um, our database. You may need to load the role as well to check for the stuff. Okay, to check for the stuff for security purposes, but we will not do that by now. So we'll just do now. We'll create. Okay, right click. The simplest one is a cohort. And for the cohort, we'll have private and CID, which is cohort ID, private string, cohort name. Then we'll do alt insert. Again, if you don't know how to do alt insert, just right click and choose insert code. It will show you this shortcut correspondingly here. So we'll choose constructor. When we create a new, just select this two. We'll create a new cohort. We need to have cohort ID and cohort name. Then we're going to do alt insert again for the getter and setter. You'll be able to get and set all these values. Okay, and that's it. And there is another method, but we won't use it whenever I need it. So this one is about business objects. So it store data mostly. So it's focused more on variables, not much about processing. So the next one is we're going to have another Java class, which is for the staff. So for the staff, we will need to create, let's say, private int. Take me some time. So this one is private int staff ID, private string staff name, private. I think we'll just use those two. If you want the ROM for authorizations, you should load the ROM too. But then we'll just skip it by now. Then what we want to do is we're going to create the constructor for it. Whenever we create the staff, we'll need to insert the ID and the name. Then we'll create the getter and setter for that. Okay. We'll use the other methods or the codes later if needed. We'll fix them. Next one, we'll have our students. Okay. For students, we're going to have their SID, S name, S address, the core ID and staff ID as well. So we'll have students over here. We'll have private int SID, private string S name, private string S address, private int cohort ID, private int staff ID, the one who last modified it. Then do alt insert. Then we'll create constructor. Whenever we create a new student, we need to insert all of them. Then we'll alt insert, and we need to provide getter setters as well. Select all. That's it. So we now finish all the business classes. So for sure we'll need to add some more methods, but by now we'll just create the main focus on the main variables to store the data that we need for each of the table that we have, so that when we load them up, we'll have something to store, because Java work with um, Java work with RAM, so that you need to store, and every Java need to work with object, so that we need to create a class, so that we'll be able to create an object to store the data that we loaded from the database. So that one is almost mainly it for business object. So we'll do the other part next time.